It is absolutely insane what's happening with MTG Finance. In this week's edition of the top 10 selling cards, we have got to talk about the weaker financial side of Magic the Gathering right now because of murders at Karlov Manor. We've got to touch on what's happening with Fallout, and this video can't end without talking about Thunder Junction. Hi everyone and welcome back. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for stopping by the channel today for another top 10 video. Now of course, if you enjoyed today's content, if you want to see more of the Moxman, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button, turn on your notification bells, and you'll see it every day. And of course, if you want to support me on TCG Player by using my affiliate link, it's free to do and it helps the channel. You'll find the link in this video. Now let's start out at number 10. Now this is a Ravnica remastered card. This is Rhythm of the Wild. This card actually is a pretty good card, don't get me wrong. I'm just surprised it was on the top 10. But when I started researching cards and seeing how low the actual sales volumes are, this thing only had $2,700 in sales. This is a total collapse of where we've seen the singles market in the last 7 to 9 weeks. So these sales being this low is just so off key from what we've seen that I had to investigate further and see what's going on. Now I know a lot of funds were diverted to Fallout. A lot of people who may have been buying other products or hitting up cards from Murders at Karlov Manor or Wilds of Eldraine, all these cards have taken a sidebar to what's going on with Fallout. Keep that in mind as we go through this video because it gets kind of insane when you start seeing how low the market is and what's actually happening behind the scenes. Remember guys, we only have one wallet. Now our number 9 card is Ephemerate. This is from Modern Horizons. It hasn't really had a reprint guys. 1,654 sales means a card like this probably has some speculation right now and people hedging their bets that it's not going to get a reprint in Modern Horizons 3. I wouldn't be surprised either way. The card has been slowly gaining in value, and around that $2-3 mark as a common, that's a pretty decent value point for a card like this. The fact that it could come around again and what this card utilizes as a power source, being able to exile creatures and bring them back, and they're creatures you control, means triggering abilities can really get out of hand in a fun way. I mean, I used this card multiple times when it first came out. I haven't used it for a while against my friends, but maybe I'll stop in and take a look at that card again. I'll let you know how the action turns out in a few weeks if I put that into my white deck. You never know. Now, when we drop into number 8 here, this is where things start getting a little bit funky, a little bit weird, okay? We are stopping in and you're going to see we have Rockfall Vale. This is Innistrad Midnight Hunt, guys. This thing has 1,803 sales. It's a low-level land card. Sure, it's great. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or more lands, but this thing's rotating out. It's going to be one of the sets that's leaving. 3,800 sales volume, like $3,800, that's a lot of sales for a set like this. But when we talked about one wallet for what we've seen with Fallout, the money being diverted to Fallout has really tapped a lot of players out and has really diverted what people may have been purchasing in the past. Fallout's an expensive product. It has a lot of attention and a lot of people have been speculating on these boxes. And with the restocks we've seen coming, I have seen prices softening a bit, but they firmed up overnight. We've only lost about maybe 3 or 4% of the volume of value, but we don't know how it's going to turn out over this weekend. So it's something to pay attention to because now cards like the Rockfall Vale are showing up, which they never would normally. But it just shows that people aren't buying the Vein Ripper and stuff right now. They're buying other things. They are using their wallets for different stuff. Okay, Malakar Rebirth comes in next. Now this card again, I mean, Zendikar Rising, great set. I see this thing at 2,100 sales. That's crazy. That's $9,422. Now remember what this card does. You choose target creature, you lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Another way of making things trigger and go off. It makes a lot of sense for guys who might be playing Commander, Modern. Okay, I get it. Now, will it come around for a reprint? What speculation are we going to have? The cards we're seeing are low volume sales with low value cards, which means people are not stepping up to buy heavy hitting cards. They are not utilizing a lot of cash flow into the big boys. But you might be surprised in tomorrow's video because when we go over what's going on in the reserve list top 10, that's an entirely different beast. That is insane and there'll be so much to discuss. So I hope you guys check out that video tomorrow as well. Now let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. Now, when we take a look at this one, we got the Academy, and you look at them and go, okay, like this thing's good. This is number 6. It's got, $5.93 is the cost, 2,343 sales, $13,000 of sales volume. It's a 1-3. So what are we talking about? Well, Murders at Karlov Manor, Investigate, things like that showing up in Thunder Junction means cards like this may get a little more play going forward, and there might be more ways of utilizing this in Commander that just is maybe drawing a little bit more attention than people expected. I still think it's a kind of a hedged bet right now to see if this thing's really going to go off, but at the same time, it still has function right now, and people are using it. So yeah, I get it. I can follow that one and say, yeah, it's fun. I like artifacts though, especially generic artifacts. All right, Doppelgang. I have seen this thing already go off multiple times in arena matches. 2,543 sales, very low sales volumes, 84 cents, 2,100 bucks. But the Doppelgang card, late in the game, for each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of those permanents. Remember it says permanent? That's what's insane. You can copy lands with this thing. You can do crazy things that trigger multiple abilities. And I have seen it go off way too many times now that it's actually annoying. And I've seen it used with Karn, anything with Power Stones to get tons of mana and stuff going. It gets a little bit nutty, especially if you have 4 in your deck and you start trying to pull things off. So this Murder at Karlov Manor card may be super cheap. Maybe nobody cares about it, but it's definitely a game piece that you can put into your deck, and late in the game, it can really pull things off for you. Yeah, the mana cost is steep, but it doesn't seem to stop people who are using that card. Super cheap, guys. I mean, it's next to nothing in value. Okay, Stroke of Midnight is coming in again. Now, this thing's been here a long time ago, and it's coming back around 2,700 sales, or $5,989. Doesn't even equal, what, 1 Mox Sapphire Unlimited? This is what I'm talking about. In the last several weeks, we've had so many sales volumes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that when I see these sales now, it almost depresses me to wonder what's going on in the secondary market. And the more you look into it, the more I see there's a lack of singles at stores. The volumes are lower. Players have wish lists for cards they can't get their hands on because nobody's opening the product. The pricing is really upsetting players. It's upsetting the LGS who has to put it out at that price just to make a couple of bucks a box. This is insane, and it can't continue. Wizards of the Coast is going to have to make some kind of adjustment, or things are going to get really nutty really fast. But here's our number 4 card. Now let's take a look at number 3. Again, things are getting a little bit higher in number now. You'll see things are kind of moving our way up, and we're coming in here with Illuria Above the Law. Now, $1.75, look where this thing used to be, $10, $12 card, and now it's down to like $1.75. 2,890 sales is still really low, by the way, for a number 3 card. $5,057 in total sales volume. It's not a bad card, but I'll be honest, I have yet to have ever seen this played against me in a standard night. It has never gone against me. I've never seen this thing played. Now, there might be people who are going to use it later on or thinking it's going to connect with one of the future sets. Or maybe people think, hey, for a commander deck, it's an angel. I love to have it, and it's super cheap right now. You never know what's going to happen. I agree. Cards like this can go off later on. It's the 5 casting cost that just limits its abilities in Modern, limits anything it can do inside Standard, because at 5 casting costs, there's so much removal that it's just insane. Let's take a look at number 2. Now, this is Demand Answers. This one makes sense to me. It's a 30-cent card. It has a whole bunch of sales, 6,521 sales, and it says, and it's just a repeat card, right? We've seen this card before in different names. 1 red, 1 generic. It's an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice an artifact or discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards. Well, with all the tokens, Power Stones, investigations, and clues, and all that stuff, there's so much you can discard that it just basically draws you 2 cards. As long as you got connection tools inside there to make this give you the mana ramp you need, especially red decks, it makes perfect sense. And of course, at 30 cents, when you think of cards like Deadly Dispute, those kind of cards are costing so much more, but this thing is, basically doing the same thing. So I gotta be honest, it's a great price for a great card. I can see why so many copies, but there are speculators in here as well, because nobody needs to buy 500 copies all at once. That was insane to find that, so keep that stuff in mind. But now to number 1. And there's a little bit to cover here, guys. If you made it this far in the video, we're gonna cover number 1, and I will do a wrap-up section at the end of this video, okay? So it'll be an extra little bit at the end. Here's Crime Novelist. This thing's got 9,120 sales. That's crazy. That's great. That's a number I like to see. $18,148.80 in sales volume. But look how the mighty Goblin has fallen. This thing was $5-6 being speculated on, hasn't gone off really. I've tried to use it a couple times myself. I can't really make it work in standard right now enough to make it worth paying the 3 casting costs to get it out. Now, I get how the card could be broken. I get all the things you could make it happen, especially in a goblin deck or artifacts. But at this price point, people are still going to be willing to buy it and hold on to it, thinking it may connect a year from now, 2 years from now. You don't know where cards like this will go, but you know from the wording you can see that this card has the possibility of being insane in the right deck. I love this card. I like the idea of it. It still reminds me of Jessica Fletcher, but we're hanging in there. Okay, let's get to the wrap-up. I think Wizards of the Coast is going to come to a very swift and brutal conclusion very soon. And that's the fact there's only one wallet to tap into, one group of players who are playing the game. Just like a taxation system in any government, there's only one taxpayer to get all the money from. So what's happening is they're cannibalizing their own products. If you have a set like Mirza Karlov Manor, it's not doing well, and you have no space between it, and you get to something cool like Fallout, which has amazing artwork, great cards, great story, history, and nostalgia, drawing players in, and it's expensive. It means other products get left behind. Wilds of Eldraine, nobody's thinking about it. It's gone by. Great cards, but gone right by. Mirza Karlov Manor, it is what it is. I do like a lot of the cards in the set, but it's been passed over. It's done. And then you get the stores now that have these products sitting on the shelves. Nobody's asking for a restock, and we're going to be moving on to Thunder Junction, which, by the way, if you saw the spoilers for that, the stuff that ended up on Reddit, it is pretty spicy, especially when we take a minute to focus on those new desert cards that do the damage. A few weeks ago, I had covered a video where I said it was very interesting that somebody out there bought hundreds of copies, hundreds, of Arabian Nights deserts, the original deserts. And they started picking them up all over the place where I was scanning. So before you knew it, all these deserts disappeared. So did Oasis, by the way. And now, a week and a bit later, and now we see all kinds of new desert cards coming in, which makes perfect sense. It would fit together. But the idea that these lands could somehow be bounced back and do continuous damage, they're not as weak as people think. I'll do a video later covering on, but I just think it's something to pay attention to when you see old cards like this. And although the market right now, this week in particular, seems incredibly weak from what we've seen week over week in the last 7 to 9 weeks, I do have to just remind people that there's only one wallet, and when sales like this get low, it's usually because people are tapped out, they have other expenses coming up, and they've decided to utilize their cash in a different way. Either they've tied it into a more expensive product, or they're waiting for a product that actually excites them. Like a lot of people I know are looking forward to Bloomborough. They are starting to talk about Modern Horizons 3. They're kind of getting curious, and some people are, socking away some money. They don't want to buy an expensive Vein Ripper. They don't want to go out and buy the Roaming Throne right now, or they've already bought it and they're just holding on. Because this isn't all about people being poor and not having the money. It is people making a decision on how they are going to engage with the products. Remember, one player base to get all the money from. If Wizards speeds things up too much, things get missed, cannibalize your own product, sucks to be you. Okay, now before we end off today's video, the reserve list is a little bit different. If you're going to see that video tomorrow, 11:15, the numbers are a little bit wacky, okay? Way higher than expected, kind of crazy stuff going on. I'll cover a little bit in the Ramble Jamble just to give you a little bit of taste. Anyway, thanks again for stopping by, guys. Thanks for hanging out here to the end of the video. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend, and of course, I'm glad y'all stopped by the top 10 video, the original top 10, and I will see you guys again in a matter of hours, because if you've subscribed to my channel, if your notification bell is on, I'm not going anywhere. Hey guys, a shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons we have supporting the channel. Everyone out there who makes it happen, I want to thank you again for being supporters of this channel, for helping the growth and continuation of information for this amazing game, Magic the Gathering. Whether you're one of my YouTube membership members or a patron, it's because of that support that these videos happen. See you soon. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You have been recruited by G.I. Joe. I don't know. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. I'm glad you guys made it out. And yes, I'd like to see another G.I. Joe movie. Maybe I was thinking about watching G.I. Joe. Either way, we're all on the same page now. You've made it here, and this is unedited, and things just get said sometimes. All right. There are several buyouts. Several buyouts on the reserve list. Several. Now, does that mean that money is flowing back into the reserve list? Yes, it does. Does that mean these buyouts are going to continue? I don't know. Moxman, did you have fun counting them? Yes, I did. Well, why is that? Because some of the numbers are nutty, and now I'm not going to tell you anything until... I know I'm crinkling things. I apologize. I'm not going to tell you anything now, though. We're going to hit this one up later. Anyway, I got to get back to counting because there's more reserve list cards to cover. I will see you guys soon. Have an absolutely amazing day. And you know what? Before you know it, I'll stop shaking my hands like something and I'm looking all over the place. It's okay. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go. Nah, I'm back. I'm just kidding. I'm not really leaving. Yes, I am.